Conservation Commission meeting, January 28, 2026, and present are
Courtney Carter.
Daniel King.
Patty Gale, Planning and Zoning Assistant.
Gene Walker,
Andrew Chaplin.
Mark Lemay, Selectman's Rep.
Jane Raymond.
Amy Pollock.
Courtney, you will be the voting person today because everyone's not here. Let's go down to map 4, lot 82, two-lot subdivision creating one new lot. The property is located at 112 Mountain Road, owned by Kathy Hooton, zone residential 1. That's what.
Good evening. I am here with certified licensed wetland specialist, Aaron Wexler. He is going to get into the particulars that we feel would be of importance for you to view. At this point, I just wanted to kind of introduce myself. I know a few of you do know me. My husband and I purchased that property of 10 acres in 1977. We were in the process of discussing subdividing the property because we had purchased it for two reasons. One was so he could wake up in the morning having come from New York and see trees outside every day, and the second was for the property eventually to be subdivided for our retirement and we could go forward with it. Unfortunately, my husband passed in September of '24 when we first started to go on this adventure of subdivision, and I am just following through with our wishes, and this is the first step to the presentation before we go to the planning board. At this point, I think I will let Aaron answer any questions and concerns you may have and let you know what is important that we feel that we wanted to introduce to you as the Conservation Commission, and we would entertain all of your questions and comments as needed. Okay?
So you're planning on the two subdivisions, and you're going to present the wetland?
Yeah.
Okay.
My name's Aaron Wexler, Aspen Environmental Consultants. Joe Wickett prepared the subdivision plan. You guys have a copy of both sheets?
Yeah, they have both sheets.
The subdivision it's pretty straightforward. It's about a 10-acre lot. Originally, the house is being split off with just over an acre, and the remainder lot, the new lot is going to be about 9.5 acres. We have two wetlands on the new lot. They're both forested wetlands. We don't actually have any wetland impacts for the project, but we are passing through the buffer with the driveway. We believe the driveway falls under uses permitted within the district under Article 13.368 for roads and driveways. And then the swales that we're proposing fall under 13.369, which is wetland and surface water protection. As proposed, we have about 490 linear feet of driveway from Mammoth Road to the turnaround.
Mountain Road.
Sorry, Mountain Road. Thank you. Too many projects. So it's the driveway as shown is 16 feet wide with 1 foot shoulders. We're proposing vegetated swales on either side of the driveway, spaced approximately 3 feet away from the edge of the shoulder, about 4 feet wide, 6 to 12 inches deep, and as shown with no outlets, will just infiltrate stormwater. Once they're filled, they would sheet flow over the edge. If desired, an outlet could be created or several outlets. My recommendation, which is on the plan, if that's done, to have those outlets be greater than 50 feet from the wetland boundary. Currently, the closest point from the wetland to the driveway is 43 feet. And that's in this location here. And here, and it's about 36 feet to the swale. We have seed mix that I had recommended for the swale itself is just a mix of tall fescue, creeping fescue, and red clover. Approximately 1.4 pounds per 1,000 square feet. The 3 feet area that I recommend weaving cleared around the swale could be a conservation mix or a lawn mix or the same mix. But just for maintenance purposes, I do usually recommend keeping the area around the swales cleared. Really the intent of this, even though we don't have wetland impacts, is just to provide a concept of what this could look like and how we can use the swales and temporary erosion controls to minimize potential impacts.
So with the driveway, he is correct, that's exempt, it can go through the buffer. They can cross a wetland as well with that. And because of the length, they have to build it to NFPA guidelines, which is of course the turnaround at the end and the width of the driveway. And this is just going through staff review. I haven't gotten anything from Scott Ozana, who will review the driveway and the drainage as well, but.
So this still go to,
Yeah, it's going to planning on February 12th, so this has newly been submitted, they're reviewing everything. I don't have comments that I can pass on from like
Okay.
Scott yet.
do we have some, Joy? Go ahead, Jane.
I just have a couple questions. First of all, on the prior page, there's a big dotted line that goes, is that the tree line?
This here?
Yeah, what's that?
That's a soil line.
A soil line.
Yeah, for the soil map.
It wasn't identified, I looked everywhere and I couldn't find it. What is that? Okay, and what direction is the water flowing out of these wetlands? Is this water in the upper one going toward the stone wall?
This way.
So, on this side, the water will be draining away. Basically, the contours go like this, that's down slope. Over here, in general, it does go towards this area, but it's really very flat through this area. As you get further up, closer into, further into the upland, it's a little bit of a knoll and starts going up slope, but this area here is pretty flat. There's, the water that does go down through here is moving pretty slowly, and there's evidence that it sits there a while after
Okay.
a storm event.
All right. My only question.
Any other questions on that, Jane?
No, those were my questions.
Okay. Anybody else? David?
So I asked the board to make a recommendation or comments to the planning board when it goes before them on February 12th.
I would recommend that best practices be instituted for protection of
Wetland.
The wetlands,
the
wetlands.
wetlands. Yes, best practices.
okay. And no other issues of concern?
I'll second that.
All those in favor? Opposed?
Aye.
Abstaining? Okay.
Okay. That's the quickest one you're getting.
I think
Thank you
quite
all
well.
very much, and Happy New Year.
Thank you very much.
It's quicker than you expected.
It certainly was, but
Always hope.
it was done with due diligence, for sure. Thank you very much.
Try these again. Okay, this must be public service, must be here now. Do you have trouble finding a parking place?
It's interesting.
No. Okay.
What was the
Now-
vigil for?
People being murdered.
embroidered by our.
There's really no other place to put it.
Gotcha.
That was my guess.
Ah, that's what's going on. Okay. Map 5, Lot 15, site plan and conditional use permit review for proposal to repurpose the former electrical utilities substation area next to the new electrical substation and add a paved pole storage yard. This is part of the Gregg Utility Substation Rebuild Project. The conditions use permit is required per section 13.3.7, 13.3.71, and 15.4.1 of the Goffstown zoning ordinance for the impact to the wetlands surface water conservation district buffer. The property is located at 39 Mass Road, owned by Public Service Company of New Hampshire, Eversource Energy, zoned agricultural. We have, okay.
Hi there. Thanks for having us, everyone. I'm Kurt Nelson from Eversource. I'm the manager of licensing and permitting, and I'm joined by Nick Golan, our engineer from TF Moran. And before you is a filing for the repurposing of our old Gregg substation. As you're probably aware, the new substation is built and it is fully in service. And at the time, in 2022, when we did the site plan review for that substation, we had sort of a promise. We had kind of an idea that the old yard would be repurposed as a full storage yard, but we weren't quite sure. We've been able to, for the last couple of years, vet that and put together a plan in front of you today. I'll hand it over to Nick.
Thank you, Kurt. As Kurt mentioned, this is essentially the fulfillment of a promise we made several years ago where we would come back to the town to confirm that we indeed are going to use the existing substation as full storage, which we are proposing to do. If you've been by the site recently, you'll notice it looks a little different. All the above ground steelwork, lattice, etc. has been taken down, and as Kurt mentioned, we have a very nice new energized substation. The graphic that I have behind me is something that was provided to the planning board and is also included in our overall site plan package. Just helps illustrate what's out there. This is the new and shiny substation. This is the existing substation, which now differs in that all of this equipment, sans the subsurface and pads, all that equipment has now been removed. What Eversource is now fulfilling is to use that for the pole storage. And to do so, we need a conditional use permit. A portion of the existing substation, which is represented by this here, this lovely hatched area, forget just the black and white. This portion of the existing substation yard, and then this portion here, which will be the refinement of the new stormwater management area, are our proposed impacts. So this is kind of an odd one in that we're asking for a CUP for something that really already exists. The gravels that are within that yard will stay. We're just going to pave on top of them. At this location is an existing low point that's really serving as the de facto stormwater management area for the site. So we're making sure that our stormwater is going to continue to be directed to that location. Now, what's the difference? Instead of it just being a hole in the ground that's very sandy soils that will infiltrate, we'll have a slightly modified soil constituency which meets the alteration of drains requirements for a filtration basin so that we can provide appropriate stormwater management for the site. One of the oddities of that area is there's a fair amount of invasive species, knotweed, that's in that location. So if anybody's wandered by, I figured people had, so I just jump into that part of the presentation. We'll now have the obligation to remove it and manage it. As part of the alteration of terrain approval process that we're now going through, our stormwater management areas need to be evaluated and cleared of those types of elements. Shoot, knotweed's tough. You've got those ribosomes, they're big, they go deep. We'll have a task set about us as far as how we remove them, but luckily the state gives us lots of tools in the tool belt for how to manage it. Kurt can expand on those elements if we need to. It's something I know that he's been intricately involved with. There's a couple of different options. We'll make sure we work with our team to figure out how we best manage it. But I'm going to try and be a little short and sweet. The overall impact is 13,560 square feet. 10,000 of that is the yard, the remainder is really the area of the stormwater management basin. In that we were doing work within that existing substation yard, it really brings us into the need to bring that stormwater management system into full compliance with both your town regulations as well as the state's. So some good amount of housekeeping just to clean up the site. And if there's any questions, Kurt and I'd be happy to answer.
I just have one question. What is this former substation surface now? You mentioned it was gravel. It's just a big pile of gravel?
So there are multiple sections of gravel that are prescribed specifically to account for resistivity within the yard. What does that mean? If there is an errant electrical current or otherwise,
Okay.
it's then fed through that gravel into a grounding system so it can be dissipated to the soils below.
So this was installed,
Back in 1946 plus or minus, so we have the benefit of saying it's been there for a spell, almost 80 years or so. It's been resurfaced over time and some settling, so that there's been additional gravels put in there. But what it provides us the benefit is, it really doesn't change the coefficient of our runoff. So it's gravel, it's heavily compacted, there's concrete pads out there now. So essentially it's 100% runoff now. So by the fact that we're adding pavement to it, it's really not too much of a disservice when we think about the stormwater management. And it provides us the opportunity to better capture it and redirect it into a stormwater management area.
okay, thank you.
So,
We're gonna present.
I can add a little more detail. So the former substation yard will be using it for distribution wood pole storage. The plan is somewhere in the order between 7 and 10 pole bunkers. They look like field goal posts, sort of. They're about 4 feet off the ground. Each one of those
I was
bunkers.
going to say, there's actually a detail, there's a nice little photo there in the back.
Yeah, there it is.
Okay, great.
It's very simplistic, but it serves Eversource's needs.
Yep,
Poles treated.
they are treated, yep. And that is, and I can talk about that. Yeah, so each one of the bunkers will hold about 20 to 25 poles, so about a total of 250. Goods, paving the yard under normal pole storage circumstances, a good idea, limits infiltration.
And it's management of the stockpile, right? Having that nice smooth surface. Think about it if you're a lull or a heavy piece of equipment trying to move poles around in the yard, bouncing up and down on gravel. Safety first, right?
Correct.
So with that nice smooth surface, it provides really a much safer environment for the operators.
Yep, and good news with respect to wood pole treatment these days. There is a new wood pole treatment compound that Eversource will be transitioning to. It's called DCOI. It is 4,5-dichloro 2-octyl-4-iso.
I can't even read it. The fact that he was able to get that out was
Well, I know that
impressive.
the planning board that kind of asked me 3 or 4 times what exactly it was, so I thought I'd come prepared. So it's an organic compound that is much more ecologically friendly than pentachlorophenol and CCA. It's kind of a paradox. How does it actually work so well in the pole, but at the same time not having it anywhere near the same environmental fate as Penta is concerned? And my understanding is it does its job very well in the pole. Once if it does leach in the soil, it's strongly sorbed to soil, and it has a much shorter half-life as far as persistence than the older chemicals.
Yeah, is that,
Yes.
is that one still chlorinated, do you know?
It does have a chlorine in it, yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So obviously there's poles that it's out there, but these are gonna be concentrated and paved. And it looks like then your stormwater management area, is that grassed, or is there any thought or consideration as to, because obviously it goes into Glen Lake, for capture, treatment, any type of runoff? I
I'll help
didn't
Kurt
go
with
into
that
all
one.
the details.
I'll help with that one a little bit. And that there's no formal treatment practice associated with pole storage. The reality is you treat it like you would any other impervious material that's creating runoff.
But
The
this one's
key-
right next to Glen Lake, so.
No, and that's a great point, because maybe I didn't illustrate it properly at the beginning, is the Gregg substation that was constructed was the former pole storage yard. So we had been storing poles there, so this is, when we think about how the area has been used, traffic, all those other considerations that planning board really talks about, this is a continuation of that use. Now, I've had the opportunity to do a couple of these yards for Eversource. There are no special considerations for the stormwater treatment specific to these poles. Because as Kurt mentioned, these are the same poles you see up and down the roads. Your point is aptly made though, yeah, but we're concentrating and you're putting more in one location. How do you manage that? It's much like you manage chlorides. The key is you don't put down too much salt. With the case of pole storage, the key is you manage your stockpiles correctly. Eversource will have appropriate procedures in place for the management and evaluation of that stockpile. If there ever was to be an issue with an errant or faulty pole, they have the ability to remove that from the site. Your expression tells me I didn't answer your question efficiently.
I'm just processing.
Okay. Forgive me.
It is true, leachate from wood poles can be a concern in some considerations. The reality in this scenario, though, you're talking about minute amounts. When it comes to capturing pollutants and things like that, if you're talking about oil phase pollutants, those can be captured in various ways, whatnot. This is going to be pretty dilute, whatever sort of runoff might be experienced. We agreed with the planning board to put in, I'll call them storm scepter.
The oil and grease hoods within the catch basins
Oil
that are
and
being
grease hoods
proposed.
within the catch basin, which in reality will primarily do a job if there was an oil spill within the area.
Right, it's not gonna do anything with
Yeah,
chlorine.
I think the thing that this is, I wouldn't be too scared by virtue of the fact that there's a chlorine in there. It's probably the one chemical that's actually doing the protection work. But if you were to look at, do Google AI on DCOI and look at your environmental fate and transport, it's like way ahead of where we are with pentachlorophenol and CCA.
So if that's the case that you decided to switch from these legacy chemicals to the new one because it's safer, like what would the time frame be? I guess how long would there still be these poles with these older, more harmful chemicals there? Like, what's the timeline on really phasing those out and disposing of them safely so that less of that's being stored here next to the lake, next to the river that feeds right to Merrimack? I mean, and I appreciate what you're saying, they've been there for a while, but that doesn't mean they want to be there any longer than they have to be. Yeah, so I just don't know.
That was actually something we've talked about as a team, because this is part of an Eversource overall company initiative. So it's
Right.
not just New Hampshire, we're talking their entire service area. What was the feedback on when we were going to have those completely
we
initiated?
talked to Alan Bro, who is sort of manages our part of our distribution wing, and there'll be no pentachlorophenol poles stored here at all. They've been phased out in New Hampshire. He did say there would be a short transition period where there will be some CCA poles
And those are
stored
the
here.
pressure treated?
They're sort of the
poles?
pressure treated type poles.
Okay. But from a time frame standpoint, when did we think we were going to be switched over to the DCOI?
Like within a year, maybe. I didn't have an exact. He did say, he said there's no pentachlorophenol poles. There'll be a short transition period of a few CCA poles, but I don't have an exact number on that.
Okay.
You have any other questions,
Thank you, Karen.
concerns, questions?
Can I?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
The invasives, the Japanese knotweed, I saw the note about it, it said reference 13G, and then it says it's disposed of on site in a legal manner. I don't know. You said you could talk a little bit more about
Sure.
that.
There's a bunch of ways you go about trying to destroy knotweed. There's the ability to black bag it, put it in the sun, let it cook. You can put it inside of various containers to also serve that same purpose. There's herbicide applications that can be conducted as well. The idea is that we want to try and treat this issue on site. We don't want any of these materials to leave the property and head anywhere else. So that's the intent of that note. Kurt can maybe expand on it a little bit, but in essence, as part of that alteration of terrain permit, it prescribes for us, here's your options for removal of that knotweed. Kurt would work with his vegetative maintenance team on what the most appropriate means is given the site considerations. You know, one option is you just dig out those ribosomes to full depth. that'd likely be a lot of area of disturbance beyond what's necessary. So there's a couple of tools in the tool belt that they'll explore as far as how that's done, but the idea is this is treated on site such that they can be destroyed there.
So an herbicide then?
An herbicide is a potential. Kurt, can you explain for us a little bit, because I think you have a little bit more
Yeah.
information on it. How is that permitted if a herbicide is used?
Sure, I'll speak to it. So for those who might not be familiar, we have this, I'll call it the ravine, this sandy, fairly large sandy depression back here, and it is heavily infested with Japanese knotweed. As Nick said, under the alteration of terrain rules, any of our stormwater management areas, the alteration of terrain program requires that as part of your inspection and maintenance program that you control for those invasives. So we have a system-wide program for all of any of our facilities, substations that we have AOT permits. We're actively monitoring these things and controlling to the extent that we can infiltration within those areas. So this basin here will be an area we absolutely need to control. Right now, this area is not infested. This sort of southern bank, I'll call it, as it goes downhill, heavily infested. By virtue of the fact that the other basins that we have, we've tried some control efforts out there already. I've been personally monitoring this area and some of these areas to make sure that we're not getting new infestations happening on the property. I believe it was last summer, tried to smother a good portion of that knotweed. We had a veg contractor come in and flat cut the growth on top. We laid down black polyethylene plastic for most of the summer, and it didn't quite work.
That's some, but not all.
Right. The reality is the rootstock in there is woody, and it's huge. It's huge. And if it was a simple, small area of infestation, we probably want to dig it and get it. But the reality is it's quite an area here and quite a civil undertaking that would have required more permitting just from a civil standpoint alone for us to endeavor to do that.
The other part of that too, Kurt, is that they're sandy soils, it's a steep slope.
Right, so massive civil undertaking to try and do that. So herbicides are probably the only feasible option if we are to control it. We're probably talking about a strategy of containment of areas outside, keeping things contained here. Whether it's feasible to eradicate that entire infestation or not remains to be seen, but obviously we do have the obligation to make sure that it's not spreading out elsewhere into our basins and other portions of the property.
One of the benefits we have is there's very limited earthwork associated with what we're doing. We're basically paving a gravel yard, and we're rebuilding an area that's currently acting as a basin. So really, this is a nice benefit.
It's very hard to control.
That we're going to be able to take a shot
And
at this.
if we were to endeavor the herbicide approach, we'd have to go through the New Hampshire Division of Pesticide Control. They have a right-of-way permit category, so that application would be complete with all of the nearby water features, wells, etc., and it gets passed through the DES Watershed Bureau and all that. So all of the
right eyes are on it.
Right, the right eyes are on it, the awareness of all the potential sensitive receptors and whatnot. So.
Okay, do we have any other questions, comments, concerns? Okay, we need to send a recommend.
If you have, any comments?
Okay, comments to send on to. Anybody?
It's very thorough,
Thank you.
as usual.
Best practices.
Best management.
Yeah, you don't need to do that.
No, they're doing.
They're doing it. Yeah.
Yep.
All the detail in here shows all the.
All
best
of
we-
your
all the-
questions and concerns have been answered.
Yes, they have.
That's what you want to say? Questions and concerns have been answered.
Send it on as a comment.
Yeah, I can just do it as a comment.
Do you need a motion?
Sure, it's Jane.
Yeah, Jane.
I'm motioning to send this on.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Okay,
Thank you so much.
thank you.
Appreciate it.
That was quick too.
Okay, we have the
It's
corrections and exceptions of the minutes from November 19th. Anybody have any corrections or comments for the minutes? Here, they're in the packet. Any comments?
That feels like 6 months.
Any of them?
Yeah.
up on the scaffold.
David,
I didn't see any.
you see any?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, we have a second on that?
I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining? Anyone? Yes, abstain. Okay, we have Damascus, which we won't have any comments on that until after town meeting. And there's a copy of the Forestry Society report for the stewardship from the Clarksville property. And
Did they give us their full reports? Do you happen to know, Patty?
they said there was a full report, but
There's just what I gave you a copy of.
Because I know like they do have reports with maps and such. I didn't know if they sent that to us.
That's the only thing I
is
received.
what you gave us, right?
Yeah.
That was,
Okay.
I'm surprised, they could have given us one for fire.
Yeah, I know they have them. I don't know if they share them.
Yeah,
Unless we ask
in
for
the
it.
past, they've sent more detail.
That's what I
Which
got.
I know they have them, so I'm just wondering if they sent those along as well.
I mean, basically, it's a summary and
Right.
Yeah.
as far as I'm concerned, it's.
I just like to see the maps. of the
Oh, I read it.
reports, so-
Yeah, I didn't get anything like
But
that.
it's fine.
But
Figured it out.
I think in this case,
Yeah.
for at least one of them, we have a very good
I-
hand account.
Yeah. Okay, and the culvert replaced on Hadley Brook, Montezuma, anything about that?
The town's doing
The
that.
town, that's what I was gonna say, and then the dam removal project was approved.
I just want to say there was no Rivers Advisory Committee.
Okay,
It was
no
canceled.
rivers.
But
We're doing that.
this is what we would have discussed had it,
Vote.
we had the meeting, but we didn't have the meeting.
So,
And this shows that they are going forward.
yes, because the grant was,
They got the grant.
the grant came through.
$4.5 million?
Yeah. So that's,
Yeah, it is,
And in previous meetings, did they indicate anything about how much they're going to share with the reconstruction plans, the reestablishment of the channel?
I mean, in here, it says they are going to do that.
Is it going to do a study first? Is that the situation?
They're going,
or
they're going,
have a
Bless you.
preliminary plan already?
they've got a approval of a federal mitigation plan,
mm,
but it's not in here, it just says they have it. So,
The approval of a mitigation plan, I guess my question is there a mitigation plan that's already been drawn up, or is there just approval to proceed to put together a plan?
that's a good question, David, and I don't know the answer.
Yeah,
Yeah, because it says that it requires development of the data, so it kind of sounds like they didn't do it yet.
was that gonna be discussed at your meeting probably?
We haven't had a meeting since September.
Yeah, okay.
well, I think that's the point where the town, taking interest to see exactly what the plan is.
Well, if we have a meeting, I will go to it. How's that?
Sounds great, yeah.
Okay, thank
Thanks.
you.
Yeah.
David, anything on open space?
No, it's, just the usual repeating cycle of, we think they're gonna sign off on that grant any day now, and then next month for sure, and then another month goes by and nothing happens. So. Goes in December, it's gonna be January.
January.
Kind of running out of January.
It's pretty much the end. else? Oh, a motion to adjourn? Jane made a motion to adjourn, we need a second?
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Abstaining?
The meeting is adjourned.